Substance abuse has become epidemic, and to better understand the problem, we spoke with Nic Sheff, author of the memoirs Tweak and We All Fall Down, which discuss his personal journey of recovery from substance abuse.
When my parents found out that I was using drugs, on a regular basis, I don't think they necessarily did anything wrong, but it took my dad a while before he got to the point where he kind of said to me, "Nick, I'm not going to help you. I'm not going to let you come home. Unless you go into a treatment program, I'm not going to take your calls or do anything like that." And I feel like once he made that decision to sort of draw that line with me, that really changed everything. The way that I was living was not really living. It was, I was in a huge amount of pain, and I was, completely self-destructive. And so I needed to have someone draw that line with me and just tell me basically that they weren't going to help me unless I got into treatment. And as scary as that must have been for him, I think that it definitely saved my life. My book Tweak is about my struggle with, first off with methamphetamine addiction. Crystal meth was my drug of choice, and it's the drug that really took me down the farthest, the quickest. So it's about addiction, and it's about learning how to try to start to live sober, and the process sort of falling down and then picking myself back up again, and the experience of being, homeless and living on the street in San Francisco. I had this very intense kind of sadness inside of me, and this pain inside of me, and this feeling of being really uncomfortable with who I was. And so when I started doing drugs, I felt this very immediate sense of relief from those negative feelings. And I think that having those negative feelings and then using drugs as sort of a way of medicating them is a pretty good sign that someone is going to end up having sort of problems with addiction later on. But I ended up getting severely addicted to benzodiazepines like Xanax and Klonopin, and the detox off that was some of the most excruciating pain that I've ever felt in my life, and it was really, really dangerous. But I think the thing to remember with prescription medicine is that just because a doctor prescribed it doesn't mean that it's safe. And I think that kids have a sense that they're doing a drug that a doctor has prescribed, or that comes in a little bottle and it's a little pill, and it looks a lot safer than getting a gram of heroin and shooting it or whatever. But it is just as deadly, if not more deadly. I would just really encourage kids to be aware of the fact that prescription drugs are drugs like any street drug, and if anything, they can be even more dangerous. I think intervention as early as possible is always sort of the best method. And in fact, I've worked with some parents who have kids that are going through this, and I always encourage them to err on the side of caution, and to get their kids either into, they have really great sort of therapeutic high schools now, and therapeutic programs that can really make a difference for kids.